Here is a simple SubQuery example project that indexes Gravatars on the Ethereum blockchain. There's a smart contract in the project YAML file here. If I scroll down, this one here ending in 77EC, and this is called the Gravatar registry. If I copy this out and jump into Etherscan, let's do a quick search for this contract. We'll go into the contracts tab, and scrolling down you can see that the name is indeed Gravatar registry. This is a fairly simple smart contract here where you can see that there are two events, new Gravatar and updated Gravatar, and these events emit ID, owner, display name, and the image URL, and it's these parameters that we'll be indexing. If I go back now to the transactions, you can see that there are only 103 transactions in total. So this is a great simple little project to get started with. And if I go to the very end and view all the transactions here, you can see at the bottom, last page, the contract was created in August 2018, and the most recent transaction is in March 2019. So it is a number of years old, but again, a great project as an example. So in this project, as mentioned earlier, if I jump into the transaction here, into the logs, we're going to index the data that you can see here, the ID, the owner, the display name, and the image URL. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to jump into VS Code, and I'm going to clone the repository. Let's then cd into this repository, and what I'll do is the very first step, as always, is to run yarn install. Next, let's run yarn code gen, and then I'll build the project, and then I'll go ahead and run docker. Now just note, you could actually run yarn dev, dev, to do all these three commands in one go. And once this is running, we'll go and open up our localhost playground. I shall go to the README and copy out the sample query from here. Paste it in here, hit run, and you may see an empty result set. If I go back to the actual logs, you'll see that there are some errors, failed to fetch block. And if you do come across this, the likely explanation will be that the endpoint is not correct or there's something wrong. So if I jump into my project YAML file, my configuration file, let's go down here to endpoints. So this endpoint doesn't seem to be working. A quick fix is to jump onto the OnFinality website, sign up with a free account, and attach an API key. So what you can do is go to OnFinality, this site here, create a free account, and within here, access an API key. So I've got that key already, so let me replace my endpoint here and get this working. So what I've done is I've put the API key in. It's not on screen just for security reasons. And now what I'll do is I'll start Docker again. And what I'll do here is let's just refresh. You can see the playground up here, and then I'll hit run. And you can see we've got data coming back. So we've got the create block, we've got the image URL, and we've got the display name and the owner as well. So how does this work? Well, as mentioned, inside the contract log under Etherscan, we decided that we wanted to extract or index the ID, owner, display name, and the image URL. So what we did is inside the code, let me just stop the indexer node here. Inside the schema GraphQL, we specified those exact fields that we wanted. So the schema side of things is fairly straightforward. Then after that, opening the project YAML file, what you'll see is we've got the chain ID as one, We've got the endpoint as mentioned with an API key. We're also using a dictionary here, which just speeds up the project immensely. Highly recommend always using a dictionary. In the data sources tab, we've got the kind equal to Ethereum runtime. We've then got the start block at 6.1 million. And this should match if we go back to the contract here. Let's jump into the smart contract again. If we view all the transactions and go to the last page, you'll see that the first block was 6.1 million ending in 244. So what we've done is we've started indexing just one block before it at 243. We've got the API name called Gravity, and then we've got the smart contract address as we saw earlier. And then in our assets, this is where we point to the actual API file called gravity.json. And you can see the file here in the APIs folder. Down below, we've got some handlers. There are two log handlers, one called new Gravatar and the other one called updated Gravatar, with the following topics registered. So new Gravatar here and updated Gravatar. Now topics, if you're interested, these are just 32 bytes or 256-bit words that are used to describe what's going on in an event. So it's basically this line here that's been put through a hash. If we then jump across into the handler file under mappings, the mapping file here has two functions that when triggered by the manifest file will process the data appropriately. So here each function, the first one here handle new Gravatar and the second one handle updated Gravatar. These receive a log argument here of either a type new Gravatar log or type updated Gravatar log. And then we can extract the data from the arguments, such as log.args.id, logs.arg.owner, etc. Note that the block number over here and down here, this can be extracted directly from the logs property. Afterwards, this is all saved to the database, allowing you to run your GraphQL query. So there we have it. Just an example of how the SubQuery example Gravatar project works on Ethereum.